Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat. Prabhu, I'm not able to hear you. Maybe.
Am I audible now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay.
I have some problem with my camera, Prabhu. It's not working
That's
properly.
okay. No worries. No worries. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनच्छलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्ते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंश कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे पादाय कृष्ण प्रतिष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती राधानाथ स्वामी नामिने नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रतिष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष निवारि पाश्चात्य वाचालं पंगुं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरम्। Hare Krishna. So, thank you all for joining. So, today we are beginning the discussion of the first chapter of the 9th canto. In the last class, we kind of gave an overview of what the 9th canto deals with. And now, today we will be covering the first chapter. As I mentioned in the last class, the focus of the 9th chapter in terms of, 9th canto is the topic of Isha Anukatha. Isha Anukatha. Pastimes of the Lord and his devotees. And especially so, because the previous canto, canto 8, was focused on the Manvantara topic. And pastimes of Manu Avtaras and Manus across the first 6 Manvantaras were discussed. And also briefly, the Manus and the 6 categories of personalities in the Manu-based management system of the universe. The future Manvantaras was discussed. This particular canto is also focused from the perspective of Ishanukatha in terms of the current Manvantara. So we are in the 7th Manvantara, which is known as the Vaivasvata Manvantara. Who is the Manu? The Manu in the Vaivasvata Manvantara is Vaivasvata Manu. Who is Vaivasvat? The son of Vivaswan. Who is Vivaswan? Surya Dev. The name of Surya Dev is Vivaswan. Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita. Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam Vivaswan Manave Praha Manur Ikshvakabaye Abravit. That in the beginning, I gave this knowledge to the sun god sun god gave to Manu, Vaivasvat Manu, and from Vaivasvata Manu, it was given to Ikshvaku. What is the relation? Ikshvaku is his son. Son from king to his son, the king, next king, from him to the next king, Ikshvaku. That's how the Ikshvaku, the Surya Vamsha comes. And that is why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 4th chapter, that evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayo vidu sakalena hata yogo nashta parantapa. In this way, O Arjuna, through the succession of saintly kings, Vaivasvat Manu, from Surya to Vaivasvat Manu to Ikshvaku and so on, going through various descendants. This knowledge that I gave in the beginning to the sun god came down and was generally available. The knowledge of yoga, the knowledge of the supreme perfection and the process therein was available to everyone. Sakale niha yogo nashta param tapa. In due course, the knowledge was lost. That's why I have come now again to re-establish the knowledge. That's what Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita. So who are these descendants of Vaivasvat Manu? Who are these Raja Rishis? What did they do? What special interactions did the Lord have with them? That is the topic of the 9th canto. So the 9th canto begins with Parikshit Maharaj asking a question. If you remember at the end of the 8th canto when we discussed about the beautiful pastime of Lord Matsya, the Lord who appeared twice. Correct? Anyone remembers which are the two Manvantaras in which the Lord appeared? Matsya? Anyone remembers?
Swayambhuva
Hmm?
and Chakshusha Manvantara.
Yeah. At the beginning of the Swayambhuva Manvantara and at the end of the Chakshusha Manvantara. Very good. Thank you, Mother. So, when we discuss this pastime of Matsya, at the conclusion of the discussion of the Matsya Leela, Shukadev Goswami tells Parikshit Maharaj that this great Satyavrata Muni, Satyavrata king, not Satyavrata Muni, this king Satyavrata, he was given knowledge personally by Lord Matsya. Lord Matsya gave him a prolonged Bhagavatam class, where all transcendental knowledge was given to him and the Saptarishis. And it was expected that after the pralay subsides, which was a mid-term pralay, a bit of unscheduled, we discussed this in the last class. In the next Manvantara, the Satyavrat Muni was expected to take on a bigger role. The Satyavrat Maharaj, sorry. Word Muni comes out from my mouth. Satyavrat Muni, by the way, in case you are not aware, is the author of the Damodar Ashtaka from Padma Purana. So that is more better in my head. So, the same Maharaj Satyavrata became in his next life the son of Vivasvan as Shraddha Deva or Vaivasvata Manu and took on the role of being the Manu in charge of the current Manvantara. So this King Satyavrat was from the Dravida Desh. Dravida Desh means he's probably a Tamilian. I don't know whether at that time they were still speaking Tamil there, that part of the country, but it's very clearly mentioned that he was from Dravida Desh. So anyway, I'm just mentioning this because sometimes those who want to create divisiveness within the Sanatan society, they try to divide North and South. Oh, North is Vedic, South is Dravidian. No, see references to Dravidian kings. Dravid is just... Ancient India was divided into Pancha Gauda, 5 areas broadly. I don't remember all the Gauda names, but one of them was Dravida. One is Vanga. Vanga is the Bengal, Orissa, that whole eastern side. So there were 5 broad divisions of the Bharatvarsha, the greater India, the Mahabharata. So there are Pancha Gaudas. I don't remember the name. So Dravida was one of them. And many great Vedic kings have ruled over the last few thousand years. Cholas, the Pandyas, so many others. Very, very powerful, very devoted. Both Vaishnavite as well as Shaivite kings have ruled and become and been beacons of Sanatan culture south of India. So anyway, that was a side note. So Maharaj Parikshit, when he hears about this, he asks Shukadeva Goswami, please, I am very eager to know this king Satyavrat, he became Vaivasvat Manu. Please tell me, after he became Vaivasvat Manu, tell me about the descendants of Vaivasvat Manu. I am very keen to understand what happened further. I am getting this opportunity to hear all these things directly from you. It is such a great fortune for me. So within that Manvantara, who were the descendants and what all happened? Please tell. So Shukadeva Goswami starts narrating the descendants of Vaivasvata. He starts the story not directly from Vaivasvat Manu, but he begins by saying, in the beginning, even when the whole world was inundated, Lord Garbhodaksha Vishnu was lying in the Garbhodak ocean. From his navel, lotus came, and on that Brahma was born. Garbhodaksha Vishnu, his descendant is Lord Brahma. Swayambhu. Huh? No, Lord Vishnu doesn't take the help of Lakshmi Devi to produce Brahma. This is from his navel directly. Lord doesn't need wife to produce. Brahma is also so empowered that from his mind, he created a great sage by the name of Marichi. He created many, but this specific one, because we are talking about a specific line, was Marichi. There was one another sage whose name is Atri. We'll come to that later. But the sage Marichi gave birth Kashyapa Muni. It was Kashyapa Muni married Aditi, and through the combination of Kashyap and Aditi, the various devatas were born. You've heard this so many times. Kashyap and Aditi gave rise to Daityas. Kashyap and Aditi gave rise to the Adityas. Amongst the Adityas, the 12 are most prominent. Dwadasha Adityas. Amongst them, there is Indra. One of the Adityas is Vivaswan. Indra, the Vivaswan, and there are other sons, Soma and others. Vivaswan married amongst, he has a few wives, but one amongst them, her name is Samjna. This wife, through the agency of this wife, Vivaswan gave birth to a son by the name of Shraddha Deva. This son Shraddha Deva is the same who is known as Vaivasvata Manu. Vivaswan's son Vaivasvata. Kunti's children Kaunteya. Pandu's children Pandavas. Kuru's descendants Kauravas. In the same way, Vivaswan's descendant Vaivasvata. It is said that Shraddha Deva, who is Vaivasvat Manu, along with his wife Shraddha, he had a wife by the name of Shraddha, had 10 sons. And their names are mentioned. Who are the 10 sons? Ikshwaku. Remember Ikshwaku? Just mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Ivam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham abhyayam vivaswan manave praha manu Ikshwakave abhrava. Vivaswan told to Vaivasvat Manu told to his sons. One amongst the sons is Ikshwaku, the eldest one. I gave the knowledge like that. And then it came down through the saintly kings. And that line we are going to be discussing. Ikshvaku, very famous. Lord Ramchandra came in this line of Ikshvaku. Ikshvaku Vamsha. And sometimes also known as Raghu Vamsha. Raghu is one of the descendants of Ikshvaku. Other sons, Nriga, Saryati, Dishta, Dhrishta, Karushaka, Narishyanta, Prashadra, Nabhaga, and Kavi. So some discussion about some of the others will also happen later, but our immediate focus is Ikshvaku. Then, having given this brief background, Sukadeva Goswami starts mentioning that actually, even though I have mentioned that there were 10 sons, actually, initially, Vaivasvat Manu actually had no sons. He was actually struggling to conceive any children at all through his wife Shraddha. So he starts giving the background story of how these sons were born. So being very desirous to have a son, and one of the reasons for a great king, especially what to, I mean, he's the Manu. If he cannot produce children, his whole purpose is foiled. For us, sometimes it may just be an ego issue. I want to have children. I want to have sons to keep my line going. Not that our line is particularly illustrious, but anyway, at least for Pinda Udaka Kriya, that there will be somebody who will do Shraddha ceremony for us after we are departed. But here it was part of his job description. Manu, part of the job description of Manu is to produce descendants and populate the world and have qualified kings to rule. So he approached his Kula Guru Vashishta Muni. Shraddha Deva approached Vashishta Muni and told him that you are so powerful in spiritual knowledge. Please help me to get a son. You know all the rituals, all the yajnas that could be performed. So in olden times, it was very simple. When somebody had a problem that they needed to fix, they would not just cook up something by their fertile mind. They knew the system of the universe. They knew that you cannot just go and crash into the system and make things work your way, because even if you try that, it is going to be a problem because the system will hit you back. They knew that you need to pay the karmic price. So he went to Vashishta, and Vashishta knew that he knew the way how to help him. So even for fulfillment of material desires, these great personalities, kings and saints, would go to their gurus who are well versed in Vedic knowledge, because Vedas are often described as a wish fulfilling tree. Kalpavriksha. Whatever you want, the Vedas can do. They can give you karma, fruitive desires, performance of fruitive activities like yajna, tapa, etc. It will give you transcendental knowledge in the form of the Upanishads. It will also give you devotional knowledge through various sattvic Puranas, as well as itihasas like Mahabharata, Ramayana, and also the Srimad Bhagavatam. Everything is there. That's why Veda means knowledge. There is nothing that is beyond Veda. Right now, what we have in this world is a small percentage of the Vedas. So much is lost. In olden times, these great sages were so conversant. If the kings wanted something, even doesn't matter how far out that idea may be, these great sages could figure out a way within the system of the Lord of how that desire could be. So Vashishta Muni said, no problem. It is your job to get a son, and it is my job to help you to get a son. So let me do that. So he performed a yajna, and in that particular circumstance, he said, He performed a yajna to please Mitra and Varuna. These are two devatas. They are also amongst the Adityas, if I'm not wrong. Mitra and Varuna. So, when this yajna was being performed, this is very interesting. Please listen to this carefully. King Shraddha Deva, Vaivasvat Manu, very much wanted a son. He wanted a son who would become a king. Deep inside the heart of Shraddha, his wife, she wanted a daughter. Happens, right? Sometimes the husband may want a particular gender for the child, the wife may want a different gender. But Shraddha was just keeping it in her heart. She didn't really oppose her husband. So the husband had instructed Vashishta and all the sages perform a yajna to get a son. But when the yajna was about to be completed and the Purnahuti was about to be done, when one of the priests who was helping the king and his wife to do the Purna Ahuti, the final offering, and he came to the queen and told the queen that please, now you offer your oblations. Shraddha, the wife of Vaivasvat, had told the priest, I want you, when you do the Purnahuti, in your utterance of what our desire is, please request the devatas to grant us a daughter. So Shraddha Deva is thinking everything has been done for a son, but the wife quickly slips her agenda. Last moment. And that's what the priest does when he does the final offering. He uses the word Vasat. Essentially beseeches Varuna and Mitra to bless them the daughter. And true enough, because that happened, rather than getting a son, Vaivasvat Manu, Shraddha Deva, and his wife Shraddha were blessed with a daughter. Very beautiful daughter. Her name was Ila. In one sense, the king was happy that he had a progeny, he had a daughter, but at the same time, he was very upset that he wanted a son, but he got a daughter. And he figured out, of course, what had happened. So since olden times, women always figure out how to have their own way. The husband wants one thing, the wife wants one thing, then the wife will figure out how to slowly adjust the agenda at the right time. Make sure that what she wants, she gets. So, Shraddha Deva went to Vashishta Muni. Now, he wanted to blame it on someone. He said, Vashishta Muni, how did this happen? Because he knew what had happened. How did this happen? I approached you, you are in charge. It was very clear that I wanted a son. You are so powerful, you are so well learned, and you are so self-controlled, you are aware of the knowledge of the absolute truth. You promised me that you will get me a son, and see what has happened. How come your words have gone in vain? How come you are not able to achieve? So he says, it's like your problem now. I had placed the order. I gave you all the dakshina, ingredients, everything. One of your priests made a mess up because shouldn't have listened to my wife. Anyway. So he tells like this to Vashishta Muni, and Vashishta Muni actually personally takes it to heart. He feels that because this was not just about a fancy about boy or girl. Vaivasvat Manu had serious business why he wanted a son. Because it is his job as Manu to produce the kings to rule the world. So he tells Shraddha Deva, do not worry. I know this mistake has happened, but just now see what my prowess is. Through my prowess, I will give you a son. It is said Vashishta Muni then started performing another yajna. So what he was doing? He performed a yajna to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. And he pleased the Supreme Lord. And you know what he asked the Supreme Lord? Please transform this Ila, it's a girl, from a girl into a boy. So Vishnu said, okay. Tathastu. Ila transformed immediately by the blessings of Lord Vishnu from the girl Ila, a very beautiful, powerful young prince by the name of Sudyumna. This chapter is his name. King Sudyumna becomes a woman. You'll be wondering that no, Ila became a man and became Sudyumna. How come the name of the chapter is becomes a woman? Because the story is not over. This is the nature of material life. With all our plans and so many efforts, we are continuously trying to control the course of destiny, but destiny finds its own way. So let's see what happened. So Shukadev Goswami is telling Parikshit Maharaj that I will tell you now what happened. After Ila became Sudyumna, everyone was happy, king was happy. I have a fine prince now by the name of Sudyumna. One day, this king Sudyumna, along with his ministers and some of his associates, riding on a horse. He said this horse was from Sindhu Desh. So Sindhu Desh, or the province of Sindh, has been a part of the greater India since a very long time. Currently, it is in, unfortunately, it is part of the country of Pakistan. Hopefully, it will come back soon. But there was a horse from that. So that place was very well known for fine horses. So Sudyumna was riding a horse from Sindhu Pradesh. And he was in the forest for hunting. And he was traveling north. He went so further north through the forest. It was very nicely decorated with armor and sitting on a horse and with all his weapons. He was very beautiful and he was chasing the animals and hunting them. He went so further north that he reached close the bottom of the Mount Sumeru. Where is Mount Sumeru? Mount Sumeru is at the center of Bhumandal. Right? There are so many dvipas, right? I'm not going to go into the whole geography. Hopefully, for those of you who attended the 5th canto, they remember in the center of the Bhumandal, then there are 7 dvipas, concentric circles. Each of the 2 dvipas surrounded by different kinds of oceans. Ocean of water, sugarcane juice, ghee, salt water. Center is huge golden mountain of Sumeru. And on 4 sides of the Sumeru, within the central dvipa. Anyone remembers what is the name of the central dvipa of Bhumandal?
Ilavartvarsha, Prabhu.
Yeah, correct. Thank you, Prabhu. Ilavartavarsha. On the southern part, or the southern side, just from Bharatvarsha, when we are going towards Mount Sumeru, you will first come across, when you enter Ilavartavarsha, you will come across Kailasa first. If you remember, there is an area there where Lord Shiva stays in a huge forest of, huge banyan trees. We have discussed this earlier. He stays there with his wife Parvati and he sports there. So in the material world, Lord Shiva and Parvati are residing in Kailas, which is the south of Mount Sumeru. Very, very beautiful forest. And Lord Shiva, deep in the forest, Lord Shiva is staying with his wife, and because they are so deep in the forest, sometimes they are enjoying their conjugal pastimes, and who is going to come so deep in the forest? But it so happened, one day something happened, but I'll come to the story in a minute. But what happened was that King Sudyumna, along with his associates, when they entered into that forest, when they entered into that specific area, which is Lord Shiva's territory, that specific forest is known as Sukumara forest. So as soon as Sudyumna and the ministers entered there, Sudyumna immediately transformed into a woman. Not only he transformed into a woman, all his ministers transformed into ladies. Not only his ministers transformed into ladies, his ghoda became a ghodi. His horse from a male horse became a mare, a female horse. All males became female. They're like shocked. Physically, they became transformed immediately. I mean, they were still very attractive. They were not ugly. Became beautiful ladies. But they became ladies and Sudyumna is like shocked. Already he had one experience going from Ila to Sudyumna. Now from Sudyumna, he again has become Ila. It's not mentioned here whether he was looking exactly like the Ila that he was earlier. Became a lady nonetheless and they were shocked. So Maharaj Parikshit, when he heard, oh, Sudyumna and all these associates became ladies, he asked Parikshit Maharaj, how did this happen? Automatic sex change without any operation. How did this happen? Please tell me. So Shukdev Goswami tells, I'll tell you the backstory of why this happened. So one day in the Sukumara forest area, because Lord Shiva and Parvati, Uma, his wife, are often sporting and oftentimes enjoying conjugal pastimes. At one time, Lord Shiva and Goddess Ambika were sporting conjugally. And a horde of sages happened to come there to take darshan of Lord Shiva, unannounced, uninvited. They didn't quite know, at that particular time what Lord Shiva would be doing, but apparently at that particular time, Lord Shiva and Parvati were very close intimacy and not covering their bodies. When the sages came in and Parvati is like shocked. Suddenly, in the middle of their conjugal pastime, the sages come and they see her. And she's struggling to cover herself. She feels so embarrassed. As any chaste lady would. And she becomes so upset. And even though it's not mentioned here, perhaps Lord Shiva must have thought that, maybe I should have put a fence around here. I should have put a doorbell. Lord Shiva being Lord Shiva is detached and he's not concerned about anything else. So, the sages, as soon as they realized what had happened, they realized, oh, the Divine Mother we have accidentally offended by intruding into their space at an inappropriate time. So quickly they begged forgiveness and they immediately turned away and left out of respect. Parvati was hurt nonetheless because the sages had seen her in an inappropriate situation. So Lord Shiva was thinking what to do because he wanted to make sure that Parvati is pacified, because Parvati was looking at Shiva and saying, how did you allow this to happen? So to settle the matter, Lord Shiva put a for lack of a better word, curse, that henceforth no male will be able to enter the Sukumar forest. Because I don't want restriction in my sporting with my wife. But nobody should see my wife in this condition. If ladies are there, it's okay, but no male can come in this area. So I am putting this curse, if you might, that if any male enters into the Sukumar forest, immediately he'll be transformed into a female. So Parvati became a bit pacified. So that was the background story. And because of that particular curse, Sudyumna's story happened much later. When Sudyumna entered, not knowing about this situation, entered into the Sukumar forest, he and all the ministers came up. Now the story has one more twist. She has become a woman. And they were also not knowing what to do. The king and the ministers, then they started coming out from their forest and going out. As they were coming out, It so happened that in that area, outside the forest, Buddha, the lord of Mercury, who is the son of Soma, of moon god. Soma, the moon god, Buddha is his son. Mercury is the son of the moon. Young boy, beautiful, handsome boy. He happened to see King Sudyumna, who had transformed into this beautiful woman. And as soon as he saw that beautiful woman, his heart came upon her and he became attracted to her. And he wanted to sport with her and he approached her and said, I want to marry you. And this beautiful woman, who was King Sudyumna, she also got attracted to Buddha. Oh, he's such a handsome man and he's the son of Chandradev. So she also fell in love with him and they both got married. So it is said that Buddha, along with, I'm using the word Ila because it was Ila who became Sudyumna, who became again a woman. Their union produced a son by the name of Pururava, another very famous king. There's a very beautiful episode of Pururava and Urvashi. It was a great, powerful, very beautiful episode. We'll not go into that. We will discuss it in due course. Pururava was a very, very famous king. So, King Sudyumna, who had now become a woman, he had married and he gave birth to this son Pururava, but he was still sad that, I was a man, I was a woman first, then I became a man, now I'm again a woman. Actually, I'm supposed to be the king because I am King Sudyumna, I have to rule my kingdom, I have to fulfill the role of what Vayavasvat Manu has given to me as the king. So he became eager after he had given birth to a son as a woman. He became eager that I want to become a male again and do my duties as a king. So he went back to Vashishta Muni and he said, Vashishta Muni, again, we need your help to solve this problem. Just imagine what Vashishta will be thinking. My God, such a complicated case. Prayed for a man, accidentally woman, transformed the woman to man by pleasing Vishnu. And then man became again transformed to a woman because of the curse of Lord Shiva. Now again he wants to become a man. There are very few stories like this in the Shastras where, gender is continuously changing. Prabhupada says, Darshan, this whole concept that this body is just a dress has been there in our scriptures all along. Vasam si jarnani yatha vihaya. Not only at the time of death the body changes, but the same soul in the same life also in this case has been changing bodies, male to female. Then male again, then female again. It was not particularly desirable, such a traumatic life, changing continuously. So Sudyumna Maharaj went to Vashishta Muni and Vashishta Muni became in anxiety. Oh God, another big problem. But he's Kula Guru, he's the Purohit. Okay, I'll fix the problem. So he said, in this case, I must approach Lord Shiva because it is Lord Shiva's curse who caused King Sudyumna to become a woman. So Vashishta Muni started worshipping Lord Shankar. So when Lord Shiva was pleased with Vashishta Muni, and he asked him, what do you want? He explained the situation. Lord, accidentally the Sudyumna came into the Sukumar forest and because of your curse this happened. He's become a woman. Now I want you to please withdraw that curse on him specifically. Shankar says, what you're asking me? I did this special curse just to keep my wife happy that nobody who enters here can remain a man. to make an exception, my wife will become angry. She was very offended the last time the sages came and all this happened. Lord Shiva was a bit hesitant, but Vashishta had pleased him also, and he was thinking how to solve the problem. So he said, I can do a compromise. This case. What is the compromise? Let's do it this way. My wife's word also that I promised her will not go in vain, and your desire also will be fulfilled. So let it be like this. The Sudyumna will be a male for 1 month and a female for another month. Alternately. January male, February female, March male, April female, so on and so forth. That is the best deal that Vashishta could get on behalf of King Sudyumna. So he accepted it is better. So whenever King Sudyumna would be in his Sudyumna body, the male body, that time he would actively perform his kingly duties as a king. It is not mentioned here very clearly when he was in the female body what he was doing. I don't know whether he was going back to Buddha and performing his role as the wife of Buddha. It's not mentioned here. But anyway, he continued his duties as a king. But unfortunately, the Bhagavatam mentions even his citizens are not so happy even after this because they're thinking, what kind of king this is? 1 month he's a king, then he goes on 1 month vacation. He's not the king, then he comes back after 1 month. Nobody likes a politician goes abroad too often. They're not spending time actually taking care of the political affairs of the state. But nonetheless, what they could do, they were also limited by the situation that had been created. So this Sudyumna Maharaj, as a king, he had 3 sons. What are their names? Utkala, Gaya, and Vimala. So as a woman married to Buddha, this particular entity, the body of a woman, had a son named as Pururava. But as King Sudyumna, through his wives, he had 3 sons, Utkala, Jaya, and Vimala. And it is said they became the kings of Dakshina Patha. I'm not very sure which area Dakshina Patha is, but India in the olden times was divided in a particular way, like what I said, Panchagauda, and then there were Dakshina Patha. And I think it is referring to the southern part of India, but I'm not very sure. Need to be checked. So, in this way, Maharaj Sudyumna went through all these interesting transformations. Finally, he became 50 years old. Maharaj Sudyumna said, enough. I have lived all kinds of lives, every day, man, one change and changing my gender. Finally, he said that I give my entire kingdom to my son Pururava. He gave to his son Pururava. Pururava was the son of Buddha and him in the form of a woman. Then he took Vanaprastha, devote the remaining part of his life to the cultivation of Krishna consciousness. So in that way, Maharaj Sudyumna went through a very, very interesting journey in his own life. But no matter what he went through, the important thing is he never lost sight of the real goal of life. When the right time came, he did his best. Material world is always a situation where we have to do the best of a bad bargain. What life will throw at us, we don't know. So many times we have certain expectations. We think life will go that direction. Destiny doesn't follow what we think. It's its own course. And a wise man learns to deal with the twists of destiny without being deviated from the ultimate purpose of life. Tactically, we may have to adjust our lives, but strategically, we must be very clear where our life is heading. But strategically, our ultimate goal of life neither to become a man or a woman or a king or a servant or anything else. Fir bhartur padakamalayur das dasa. I want to be a servant of Gopinath, the Lord of the. So that brings us to the end of the first chapter. Very interesting. So we have begun with the descendants of Vaivasvata Manu, and we discussed how Vivaswan through Samgya gave rise to Shraddha Deva along with Shraddha gave birth to 10 sons and one daughter. That one daughter, Ila, is the one whose story we discussed, that she became Sudyumna, and then so on and so forth. And then, of course, there were other 10 sons as well. Yes, so we will take questions. Yeah, Suresh Prabhu.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare
Prabhu,
Krishna.
like morning I pinged, right? One of my colleague asked why God created us. So I gave all the explanation, but still he was not convinced. So I would like to hear from you, Prabhu.
Okay, I'll answer that. But before I come to that, let's see if there is any question on the topic. Then I'll on the chapter today. Is there anyone who has any question on today's class before we go to that point? Yeah, Sudhir Sundar Prabhu, you want to say something? The topic
Yeah,
today?
Prabhu, my this one question is not related to the topic. Can I just ask something?
Then maybe I'll answer Suraj's question, then I'll come to you, because I wanted to address
Can
any
you?
questions on the chapter first. Then I will come to other questions on any other topic. You can ask any other topic, anything you can ask. So I can answer, I will answer. Yeah, I'll take your question after Suraj Prabhu's question.
Okay, can Prabhu.
So I'm assuming, since nobody else has raised their hand, I'm assuming there's nothing else. Yeah, so Suraj Prabhu, before I answer your question, what was your response? I want to hear in brief, what was your response to your friend?
Yeah, like God gets pleasure when he wants people to serve him in devotion. So,
Okay, so
and
what is the problem with that understanding? What was his objection?
not objection, I felt like I don't have sufficient knowledge to convince him.
Are you
Maybe.
convinced?
Yes, Prabhu. Maybe the other. Yes.
Yeah, then that is good. Yeah. Whether others are convinced or not, we can only, that also depends on their spiritual evolution. Ability to understand and appreciate spiritual subject matter and to understand spiritual reasoning also depends on one's spiritual evolution. So it is not always that if they fail to understand or appreciate what we are saying, it's necessarily because there is a fault in our presentation.
Yeah.
Get what I'm saying, right? Because these points are subtle. These points are subtle, and they are understood by those who understand this subject to some extent. Because ultimately, we are speaking about the Paratattva, and the logic of the Paratattva may not make sense to a person whose entire experience and logic is limited to that of the material world.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is the reason why I asked, are you convinced? Because sometimes what happens, we do not have a very clear and firm understanding of the topic. Because of that, we are not able to convince others. That's one thing. Sometimes, even after explaining the topic properly, others may not or will not understand. And what can we do about that? Krishna personally tried to make Duryodhana understand. Krishna personally is trying. Who can be a better convincer than Krishna? Krishna failed. Krishna failed, right? Convince Duryodhana. Was it a lack of skill or presentation on behalf of Krishna that he failed? Point was, of course, Krishna did not intervene in the free will of Duryodhana. Krishna did whatever he did perfect. Those whose consciousness is contaminated with greed, lust, anger, envy, even with the best of arguments and the best of presentations, they will stick to their demoniac ways, their demoniac understanding. They will refuse to see reason. So we must not be too attached. Of course, we must know Tattva properly and we must try to present it the best. But we should also be aware of the dimension that others are also at different levels. They may not be able to appreciate what we say now. Sometimes what happens is, even when we explain some things to certain individuals, they may not be able to understand it then and there. But if we are presenting it nicely, and if they have appreciated our spiritual character and practice, then it will leave an impression on them. One day when their consciousness has evolved to a level that that particular thing that we have told them maybe many years ago or many decades ago may suddenly be understood and realized at a later. So it's never a waste. We should do our best. But briefly, Prabhu, I will just try to explain the understanding. So, in the scriptures, the Lord says that Ekoham Bahusyam, that I am one, but for the sake of expanding my joy, I have manifested myself as various part and parcels. There are various kinds of part and parcels. There are his expanded swamshas, his own personal expansions. There are also separated expansions, the jivas like us. So ultimately, the simple reason is there is joy in manifestation. And when you talk about manifestation, energetic manifestation, which is spiritual as well as material, there has to be interaction. And for interaction to happen, there must be individual personalities. So the Lord manifests from himself as part and parcels, various expansions of his own form for various kinds of enjoyment, and also separated parts with whom he can have a loving relationship. In that way, expand his joy. So the simple reason is for Leela. What does Leela mean? To expand his joy.
Yeah.
So some people say then, oh, for expanding his joy, why Lord created so much problem for us? That will be the second question that they will ask. The simple answer to that is, I'm not going technically too much into detail, but the simple answer to that is, God is not the cause of your suffering. God gave you free will because there is joy and love only when there is free will. But you decided, you means all of us, as separated parts and parcels, Vibhinnamsha, we decided that rather than serving the Lord, we want to try to be the Lord. Because we took that position, we have become forgetful of our real identity. We are suffering the pangs of. So the Lord is not responsible for our suffering. We are responsible for our suffering. And we can still fix the problem that we have created for ourselves. We have to just simply turn back towards our real source of we are part and parcel. So we turn back and re-establish our connection with the Lord. Perform the function for which we actually were, put it in a very plain way, created. We are not created, we are eternally part and parcels. But the whole purpose of this Vibhinnamsha energy, Tatastha Shakti, is for that loving interaction. So when we perform our Sanatan Dharma of loving devotional service to the Lord, we are perfectly happy. The Supreme Lord also experiences happiness in loving reciprocations with his eternal part and parcels. So that is the summary understanding of why anything exists at all in terms of manifestation. Leela. Even spiritual world is a Leela, even material world is a Leela. For the Lord, both are Leela. For us, it is miserable when we are forgetful. From the Lord's perspective, everything is okay, Prabhu.
Yeah, I told him about birth, life cycle, how we have put it to mysteries, all those things, but I was not able to correct. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, you made it
That's
clear.
okay. Yeah. We have to speak, and sometimes the seed is sown. It may germinate later. Uh, I have a very interesting experience. If I can take a minute, still have a few minutes. I'll just share with you something very interesting. We don't know. Sometimes we preach to somebody and we don't even know what is, that person may not take it favorably. I had this experience multiple times. I was at my workplace in a training, and I was preaching to the person sitting next to me. This was when very young. I was maybe 20 or 21 years old. I was preaching to the person sitting next to me, and he was listening faithfully. Not that he was challenging me, not accepting, but he was not like excited. Oh yes, I want to become Krishna conscious. So he was listening, and I was preaching to him. And so during the break of the training, one person came to me and he said, "Can I ask you something?" And I don't even know who he was. So he introduced himself. He said, "I want to ask you something. Can I ask you something?" And this particular person, because we're in a classroom, a training setup, he was sitting in the row ahead of me. So he was diagonally sitting, one row ahead of me. So he came to me and said, in the last couple of hours, I have been overhearing you telling something to our other colleague. I am very interested in what you are telling. Can you explain that to me? Surprised. I am preaching to him. He has not transformed, but somebody else whom I was not preaching to happened to overhear it. And he got so attracted that he came to me and asked me, "What is this?" And to cut a long story short, this particular person, Arun, is today an initiated devotee. So, so that person did not become, or at least as of now, he has not become a devotee. I don't know. Of course, I have not been in touch with him, so I cannot say for sure he has not become. But as far as I was in contact with him, he was appreciative. He appreciated me. He respected me, but he did not transform. This person just overheard and he became transformed. And I've had 2-3 experiences like this in my own life, that I'm speaking something to someone, somebody else just overheard me and they became attracted. So Krishna plays his Leela in very interesting ways. And we never know. When Krishna uses us for something, we don't know what is Krishna's bigger plan. Sometimes Krishna wants us to preach because that will have effect somewhere, sometime in the future. That's also okay. Sometimes it may be meant for someone else. We don't know. We may give a book to one person. He may not use the book, but somebody else may get the book through that person and become a devotee. I got Srila Prabhupada's books through someone else. I didn't go and buy them first. The ones who passed Srila Prabhupada's books to me, they did not become devotees. But I got it from them and it transformed me. So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, we should do our best. Whoever is willing to hear our message, we do our best to speak and convince. But this is not a factory that you put them through the course and from the other side, when they come out, they are going to be with tilak and japmala. Each person is in their own level of evolution. And the seed of transcendental knowledge will bear fruit in their own lives at the right time.
Yeah,
Okay, Prabhu?
Prabhu. Thank you. I have
Thank
other
you.
question. I'll ask it later, Prabhu. Once
Maybe
Sudhir.
after Sudhi Sundar. Yeah, Sudhi Sundar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhu, I mean, I've been thinking about this point, and then I just wanted to uh, make a comparison and also get some views from you, Prabhu. So, okay, I think in the what is that history class, you were kind of explaining about the nine what is that levels of bhakti, and then we were talking about uh, power bhakti, prema bhakti, and all those kind of things. And I think, let's say, referring to myself, even to kind of reach what the star and all, also it seems to be like really really impossible and all. So so the ladder to kind of go to what prema bhakti seems to be so far away. That is what it is mentioned by what is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all so on. But if you refer to Bhagavad Gita and what is that some of the places Krishna says man man bana man bhakto and what so on, uh, become my devotee, and then you what is that surely come back to me and all. So like basically when we kind of making comparison like in Bhagavad Gita, when what is it Krishna gives all these instructions and all those things. At times it kind of seems that, oh, okay, I just have to pay my homages, become a devotee, and I can have and I and I and I kind of can what is that go back to the what is that spiritual about and all. But if you see what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching is that the actual stages involved seems to be very very long. So as an practicing devotee, so we have to although in Bhagavad Gita it is given like an what like a high overview, the actual essence we will still have to refer to what is being taught by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And also just to add another point that I think you has also what shared in what did some of the classes that Prabhupada himself had told that I have the key to the back door of the what spiritual world. Just hold on to my devotee and so on. So when you kind of take all these points as a sadhaka, as long as we do our whatever devotional service you do, you kind of do it without any what any you try to do your best, and then without any what ulterior motive, and what be what sincere, and to do your best. And will that be will that be will that be sufficient? And then is there a hope, Prabhu, or we still have to go through millions and millions of lifetime to kind of reach the stage of prema and all this thing, Prabhu? I mean, this is what it has been contaminating in my mind,
our
so I just
hope.
wanted to get some view.
Yeah. See, the thing is,
Thank you, Prabhu.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so first I'll answer your first question first. Uh, so the answer to the first question is actually what Gita says and what the Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita says is not different. Gita doesn't explain in detail the 9 stages of uh, progress on the path of bhakti. But what we must understand is that whenever Bhagavad Gita is referring to bhakti or is saying somebody is a bhakta, is referring to pure devotion, is referring to a pure devotee. So when we call ourselves a bhakta, we are using a liberal definition of bhakta. But what are we actually doing? We are doing sadhana bhakti. What does sadhana bhakti mean? We discussed, right, in Chaitanya Charitamrita. We are not yet in the level of bhakti. We are doing the practice of bhakti with the hope that the bhava of bhakti will arise through the practice of bhakti. Correct? It is like we are trying to act as if we are in love with God. And through the practice of acting like we are in love with God, because love of God is our eternal nature, it will to the blessings of Krishna and through our sadhana, that bhav will eventually appear. Correct? So we are not actually bhakta in the strict sense of the word. We are sadhana bhakta. So we may liberally call ourselves bhakta. So when Krishna says, Man mana bhava mad bhakto, always think of me, become my devotee. He's not talking about neophyte sadhaka level. We are doing the practice of remembering Krishna and we are doing the practice of bhakti. And that is a step in the direction that Krishna is saying to take. And if we keep to that path as our percentage of bhakti and remembrance of Krishna comes to 100%, we will definitely achieve the perfection. Krishna has hinted in the Bhagavad Gita also that what he's talking about as bhakti is not something cheap. I'll give you one example. Then you'll understand. You think, right, Krishna is not bhakti in a very simple, like as if, oh, you just do the external things of devotion and you are my devotee. No, Krishna doesn't give that presentation. In fact, many places he has said, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam. I'll mention a few. Ananyas Chintayanto means exclusively thinking of me. Exclusivity. We are not exclusive yet. Our devotion is mixed. Another example. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I think it's the 11th chapter, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na shochati na kankshati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. He says only after one has crossed over material energy, gone beyond material energy, come to the point of Brahma Bhuta, realizing the transcendental platform, being free from the modes, then mad bhaktim labhate param. Can achieve my transcendental devotion, para bhakti, which is bhakti. When we talk about bhakti, we are talking about para bhakti, we are talking about pure bhakti. Mad bhaktim labhate param. Krishna is very clearly given the understanding that the bhakti that he is referring to, the bhakta that he is referring to, is the Shuddha Bhakta, who is beyond the Brahman platform, beyond the platform of liberation. So while Krishna may not have given Adav Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sangra, Tata Nartha Nivrutti, Ishta, he may not have done that. That Rupa Goswami has done for us. But the concept is the same. Sometimes when we read the Bhagavad Gita, since that deep analysis may not be there very explicitly, whenever Krishna refers to Bhakta, we immediately think he's talking about me. He's talking about me. And then we start wondering why all that Krishna said he does for his Bhakta is not doing for me. Because we immediately think, oh, all these privileges that the Bhakta should get, I must get because I'm Bhakta. We are a sadhaka Bhakta. Yes, in a loose sense, we are a Bhakta. But what Krishna means when he says Bhakta, who is referred to as a Bhakta in the scriptures? Bhakta Prahlad. That is the entry point of pure devotion. Entry, not topmost. Bhakta Prahlad. He is given the title Bhakta. So the word Bhakta is not a cheap thing. Sometimes, in our society, somebody comes very new, is not yet initiated, doesn't have a das after his name. Just say, oh, Bhakta Tarun, Bhakta Bhaskar, Bhakta Suraj. So we think, oh, Bhakta is something very small. After that, I will become initiated. Then I will have so and so das name. So we think Bhakta so and so. But that is just a convention that we are following. Right? But in the scriptures, when we say Bhakta Prahlad, are we referring to as Bhakta? The adjective of Bhakta is given to very, very exalted person. It's given to pure devotees. So we should not forget that we are Bhaktas in practice. We are fortunate to have received the seed of devotion in the parampara of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. the grace of Srila Prabhupada and his followers. And now we are cultivating the seed of pure devotion, the practice of sadhana of bhakti. And from whatever percentage of bhakti we are in now, which is mixed, we have to continue to cultivate it by the practice of manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namastu. As we perfect that practice, that sadhana will lead to bhava, that bhava will lead to. So that is one thing. Second thing, how long it will take? So that's a big topic, but anyway, our attitude should be that, oh Lord, I will do my best, but I am depending on your mercy. Actually, even the greatest of devotees don't think that they are very qualified. And even when some of you may become very qualified, also you will not think you are very qualified, because that is the nature of bhakti. Even if Krishna personally speaks to you, even if Krishna is interacting with you, a devotee doesn't think that I am very great. He just thinks Krishna is so kind. That even for a fallen person like me, he is extending himself. That's the nature of devotion. The nature of genuine devotion, progressive devotion, advanced consciousness, is that it is always the bhakta thinks of himself as very significant. One of the aspects of pure devotional service is that the devotee is always dependent on Krishna. So ultimately, the consciousness of us as sadhakas is that we are not trying to hold a gun to Krishna's head that I am your devotee, I am practicing this, I am doing this, so it is now, you better take me back to Godhead. That is not the mentality of the servant. So we do our best to serve and please Krishna, and we are dependent on the Lord. Our attitude to the Lord should always be that I am so small, I am so insignificant, I have so many anarthas. Like what you said, right? It's correct. We must think like that. Even the acharyas think like that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the songs, he writes, Gopinath mama nivedana suno vishayi durjana sada kamarata kichu nahi moraguna. Asura sakala pailo charana vinoda thakilo bosi. All the demons also went and attained liberation, but I am still stuck here. Vinoda thakilo bosi. Please be kind to me. So the devotee always has that attitude. And because the devotee feels himself exclusively dependent on the Lord, especially in reciprocation to that mentality of surrender, very quickly delivers that devotee, even though he may have immense gap in terms of where he should be and where he is now. And Krishna says this in the Bhagavad Gita, Tesham aham samuddarta mrityu samsara vartmani bhavamina achirat partha maya veshita chitasam. If your mind is always connected to me, I will deliver you very swiftly. So, utsahat, nishchaya, dhairyat, tattat karma pravartana. Must continue to do tattat karma pravartan, our principles of devotional service, with great faith, with great enthusiasm, following in the footsteps of the acharyas, and always remaining hopeful that we will see the mercy of the Lord. That will maximize our chances of being delivered the soonest. So, when we will receive Krishna's mercy, that actually depends on Krishna and Guru. So we are very hopeful. Lord Chaitanya is extremely kind. Prabhupada is extremely kind, like what you mentioned. We have discussed this many times earlier. Prabhupada said, if you simply follow the four regular principles, chant 16 rounds, throughout your life, you live this life in a dedicated manner, he will recommend to Krishna, please take this person back. And even though we may not be very qualified, by his recommendation, Krishna will, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Yoga kshemam vahamyam. Whatever he has, I will protect. Whatever he lacks, I will provide. So that is our hope, Prabhu. Because we are dependent on Krishna, we cannot demand from Krishna. If we get into the mentality of demanding Krishna, I am doing this, better you take me back to God at the end of this life. If we have that mentality, then we are not qualified to receive mercy. The mentality of those who are seeking pure devotion is, Krishna, I want to try my best. I want to serve you in a pure way. But ultimately, even though this is my desire, whatever, however you keep me, I will still remain your devotee. Ashrishava padartam pinastamam adarshanad tam karutu va yada tatava vidadatu lampato mat prananatas sareva. So that is the consciousness that we should strive for. That will maximize our chances of attaining the lotus feet of Krishna this life itself. Beyond that, it is up to Krishna and up to pure devotees. But to say we have great hope, because that's why Lord Chaitanya has come, Kali Yuga, that's why Prabhupada has come. So our great hope is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. But the way that we can attract that mercy is what I just described. By doing our part to the best of our capacity, always feeling ourselves humble and repentant on there. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Thanks a lot, Prabhu.
So we are all in the same boat. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says a very interesting thing with that. See, at the end of the day, we have to understand Krishna is a person. This process of bhakti is not a mechanical process. So we have to genuinely take shelter and depend on the Lord for whatever He may do. Sometimes the Lord may just want, oh, Sudhir Sundar Prabhu is such a wonderful devotee. My Leela is going to go on for 10,000 years. I want Sudhir Sundar Prabhu to take another birth and, become a spiritual master, in Kuala Lumpur in his next life and deliver 1,000 disciples. Either he may have that plan. So if that is Krishna's plan, then you have to cooperate. You cannot say, no, I want to go back home, back to God, and now itself. Can you just do this service? No. If we cannot do like that. Whatever is Krishna's plan, the devotee is always willing to accommodate. That's why in our parampara, the consciousness of the devotee. So Lord, if you want me to remain in the material world and continue to serve you, I am fine. Tell me how I can serve you in a way that will please you. And that consciousness is the way by which we maximize our chances of going back to God. No one can arm twist Krishna. Nobody can corner Krishna. Even Lord Balram cannot corner Krishna and make him do what he wants him to do. Lord Balram tried on multiple occasions. Even Lord Balram cannot. So let us not think that we can arm twist Krishna. If we approach Krishna with humility, with surrender, with sincerity, without duplicity, the Lord's mercy is unfathomable. The most impossible things can become possible. And for those who are offensive to the Lord and His devotees, even though they may come very close to achieving perfection, they will fall down because they are not properly taking shelter of the Lord. Aruyya krichena parampadam tataha patanti tataha anadrita ishmat andreya. Jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada. So I will see you all on Tuesday. What if we feel that we are not qualified, come back and have a chance of fall down? Yeah, we should always think like that. That's what I said. A devotee never feels himself qualified. In fact, when he comes to the level of prema, a premi bhakta never thinks that he has prema. That is the nature of prema. It's very, it's not that after a devotee gets prema, he does, yes, I got it finally, yes. I won, I got prema. No. The nature of prema itself is that one feels oneself very insignificant. One feels I am very fallen. One feels I am full of so many faults. So anyway, Now we genuinely have a lot of faults. If we think we have no faults, that means we are at a very low level of Krishna consciousness. When we start advancing, first thing that happens is we start realizing our faults. That's the first sign of progress. Then it's a long journey to clear the faults, and more and more and more and more faults become apparent. The more we clean, the more finer faults we will find. It's a long journey. And after all faults are cleared, the humility that manifests in the heart causes the devotee to think he has many faults, even though he doesn't have. So, we should always think, yeah, a devotee never thinks I am so advanced in bhakti that now I will help Krishna to do this, help Krishna. A devotee always thinks in whatever seva the devotee is able to perform, whether in this life or if Krishna wants him to do the next life, he always thinks, I am simply an instrument in the hands of my Lord. Which means, for example, if Krishna decides that I want Ananda Sundari Mataji in her next life to become a spiritual master and deliver 10,000 devotees, what should Ananda Sundari Mataji think? Oh, I am so insignificant and unqualified. But Krishna is so great that he can empower anyone to do anything he wants. I just have to cooperate with his plan. How it will happen? He will empower, everything will happen through his mercy. His mercy will flow through me and go to 10,000 people. I am nothing. What am I? Prabhupada was thinking like that. You read, you see what he has written in his diary, you see what he has written in his songs. A devotee doesn't think, oh, I have delivered people. The higher a person is a devotee, the more he thinks himself simply as an instrument. That's what Krishna told Arjuna. Nimitta matra bhava savya sachi. You are the best of the archer, but you just become an instrument in my hand. So that consciousness we should maintain. Only when we are in an immature state of consciousness, we think I am so qualified that I can do this. We have that kind of a thing. That means we are still struggling with our ego and we are not yet purified ourselves significantly. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Sachi Prema Mataji.
Just a short question. A couple of years ago, and I think I was distributing, trying to sell some books, I think, in Brickfields, I think long ago. And then I was also wearing my slippers and all. So the passerby was asking me, why are you distributing books with yours and you're wearing slippers? So how we should handle such a situation, or are we not supposed to wear slippers?
So we should ask them
because
where it
it's
is mentioned. Where is it mentioned one cannot hold spiritual books while wearing a slipper?
Can't hear you.
No, I said, am I audible now?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. There is no such shastric injunction that if one is holding a sacred book, one cannot wear a slipper. One doesn't wear slippers inside the temple, one doesn't wear slippers while worshipping the Lord, but when one is carrying sacred literature, there is no such injunction. So when somebody just comes out with some whimsical statement, then one should ask them, where in the Shruti or Smriti is this mentioned? So sometimes some people say, for example, I'll tell you another thing with many people, sometimes we invite them to the temple. They say, no, today, I have eaten non-veg, so I cannot come into the temple. They have that kind of a sentiment. But of course, you cannot go and worship the Lord. You cannot worship the deities when you are in that kind of a condition. But there is no restriction to chant the holy names. There is no restriction to being in the association of devotees and participating in Katha, Kirtan. It doesn't matter what you have eaten or what you have drunk. There is no such. So people sometimes come up, oh, I'm so contaminated that I cannot do a purifying action. But that is totally stupid, isn't it? Because you are contaminated, all the more reason you should be doing a purifying action. So sometimes people just simply become sentimental. So it is our duty as devotees to educate them. And a simple way, if you don't want to argue, we just simply ask them, please tell me the Shastra which mentions this. Because we only accept the Shruti and the Smritis. Okay, Mataji, so there's nothing wrong.
Thank you,
We can
Prabhuji.
wear slippers and we can be on the what is more important is to be able to render devotional services. Some devotees may have that sentiment that they want to be without shoes. That if they have that sentiment, they want to do, it's up to them.
But what happened, Prabhu? Another time when I think just once when I went to Puri with my Guru Maharaj and all, and that time also we were outside because they can't go in, so we were asked to distribute books. But then the priest, started hitting my leg with the with the stick, and I didn't understand why he was hitting my leg. Then he just started eating and eating. Then he pointed at my shoes, so slippers. So then I had to take out my slippers, and because it's outside the temple, so
So
he
what
said,
was his
"Take out your
problem?
slip."
So
But can maybe they cannot approve?
no, nothing like that. See, like what I mentioned, right? Sometimes devotees want that when they are in the holy dham, they don't want to wear slippers at all. And for those who can manage it like that, that is very nice. If they have that sentiment, many devotees follow that. If somebody is physically able to endure that, one can. I mean, in the early years when I was young, that's what we used to do. We used to do Govardhan Parikrama barefoot. But now I am, over 50 years and, weighing close to a quintal. I cannot do that, because then after that, feet will become so sore that, next day I cannot go around. So what is more important is that practically we can perform our devotional service. So nowadays you will see many devotees will, those who can do parikrama without slippers, wonderful. It's very nice. Because the dham is different, right? The dham, we see the dham as non-different from the Lord. But if one cannot because of, health and practical reasons, then one, offers one obeisances and, the Lord understands and do whatever makes practical sense for us to be able to render our services. There are some things which are absolutely no, and there are some things where you have the discretion of whether you want to follow a higher standard or you want to adjust a bit in the realm of practicality. So that's where we need to take guidance from devotees. So of course, I wouldn't know why exactly he was hitting your leg. That can be a subject matter of speculation. And different traditions, different groups of practitioners from different philosophies may have slight variances in how they look at things. So we just follow our Gurujanas, we follow our Shiksha and Diksha Gurus in terms of how we should be guided in our own practice. And others may agree, others may not agree, that's okay. We cannot make everyone happy. And we cannot make everyone agree to our standards either. Okay, Mataji? So, no worries.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Tantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So I'll see you on Tuesday, Krishna willing. Haribo.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Puja
Prabhuji.
Mataji, Siniji, Tarun Prabhu, Suraj, Bhaskar, Haribol.
Thank you.
Sridharji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Satyavati
Prabhuji. Tandat
Mataji,
Pranam.
Sridevi
Thank you, Prabhu.
Mataji, Ram Prabhu, Dip. I'm not sure who Dip is. Is it Dipali? Not sure. Anand Sundari, Mataji, thank you. Haribo. So I'll